Jams, jams, jams. Picture books and jams. Welcome, everybody, to PBJamz. Music and picture books. What a perfect sandwich. Squish them all together. What a yummy snack. PBJamz. Yummy books and music. PBJamz. Reading, writing, teaching. PBJamz. What a yummy treat. Jamming PBs all the time. PBJamz. Songish books and bookish songs. Tips for music teachers. Interviews and book reviews. A little singing and dancing. PBJamz. Yummy books and music. PBJamz. Reading, writing, teaching. PBJamz. What a yummy treat. Jamming PBs all the time. PBJamz.
Well, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, girls and boys, whoever is joining us for PBJamz today, and from wherever you're joining us. Thank you so much for being here today. I am here with Janna, and I didn't ask you, Janna, is it Matthies?
It's Matthies.
Matthies. I'm sorry, I should have asked that before, but Janna Matthies, the author of Here We Come, and a brand new book out in print, and it is super fun with lots of great musical connections. And so we're going to be chatting with Janna today about her book. And so welcome, Janna. Thanks for being here.
Thank you. Thank you, Tawny.
We're excited to be talking about this really fun book today. And I wanted to start off just by asking you, Janna, how did the idea for this book come about, and what was the inspiration for it?
Yeah, well, I actually wrote this manuscript originally probably about 10 years ago. Oh. And it sat in a drawer. I was with a different agent at the time, and I think it didn't hit her, and so I kind of put it away, but it was always in the back of my mind. So as I think back to what the inspiration was, I have to go back quite a while.
Right.
But one constant throughout that time is that I have worked with kids as a music teacher now for about 15 years. And at that time, my kids were smaller, and we were coming out of their little years. I mean, they were still like around 10 and early teens, so we weren't in the little years. But one of the things that I loved most to do with them when they were little, we did things like kinder music, and we did things like walking to the library and doing little scavenger hunts for items that we would find. And we would sing songs, and always at birthday parties, music was involved. I would sit at the piano or get out the guitar, and the kids would be on the bongos and shakers, and their friends would be involved. And it just kind of was what we did, and very much a part of the way I raised my kids. And then when I was a kid, playing the piano and violin and things like that were a huge part of my childhood. So this book just is really natural to me. These ideas come from lived life and from parenting and from my job as a music teacher. So I know that it just all came from that. I don't remember the actual moment when I thought, hey, I want to write about this, but I do remember a line that the first line in the book actually came to me kind of all at once. Here we come with the rum pum pum, wanna come? And that first line I thought, okay, I'm going to follow this and see what happens. Uh-huh. And that rum pum pum could have been, hands on the lap. It could have been a wooden spoon in a pot. It could have been a real drum. Didn't matter to me. I kind of liked the open-endedness of how kids make and find music wherever they are, whatever they're doing, just comes naturally to them. So it sort of took off from there.
Perfect. And so that's a perfect lead into this next question is, let's talk about the musical connections and how your musical background influenced those musical connections they're all through this book. So talk a little bit about those connections for us.
Yes. Well, as I mentioned, as a small child, I took, always loved music. And I remember listening to my mom play the piano as I would fall asleep, from my bed. I could hear her playing classical music. Jesu Joy of Man's Desiring is one that I remember her playing late at night. The middle section of a Rachmaninoff piano concerto, just beautiful, lush music. And I remember being moved to tears. I mean, I have always really internalized the sounds of music, whether it's the happiness, the sadness, whatever. You know what I'm saying,
I
Tani, for
do.
those of us who are oriented that way. So at any rate, piano lessons at the age of 4, my mom, finally, I convinced her that I was ready to start. And that's not what we music teachers recommend generally. But that is when I happened to start, and then started violin when I was 8, and those things continued on. But what I generally do in the classroom now is the guitar, because I work with little ones, and the guitar is just such a communal instrument. When we're sitting at the circle,
Yeah.
I can have the guitar on my lap. So when I wrote this text, as I just mentioned, it wasn't important to me if the illustrator depicted actual instruments or found instruments.
Mhm.
I didn't know if a pick and a strum, which is one phrase in the book, I didn't know if she would have a cardboard box with rubber bands across it. And
Right.
I remember making one of those
Right.
when I was a kid with my best friend, Liz. Um, so, but all those sounds, a rum pum pum, pick and a strum, swish swish, there's a lot of onomatopoeia words
Mhm.
and words that refer to instruments, fiddle dee, fiddle dum. And when the illustrator made this book, she then did choose, I know we both have books nearby, but I will hold this up and you can see that this large bear is holding a violin for the fiddle dee, fiddle dum. The little dog in the middle has what kids in the classroom have been guessing it's a guitar, but if you look more closely, it has 4 pegs, and that's a little dog. So it's actually a ukulele,
Right.
whereas a guitar has 6 pegs for 6 strings. And then we got the boy in the front. He's on kind of like a recorder or a, a pipe of some kind, whistle. Kids want to call it a flute, but it's probably some kind of whistle or recordery thing. So there's some real instruments in here, and you can talk about the names of those. You can talk about if they are in the string family or in the woodwind family. If they're percussion instruments, there's a drum that comes into it later. And then you can just talk about what kind of music and rhythms are naturally found in the outdoors,
Mm.
or that we can make with our body, our snapping. As teachers of young students, we're always working on steady beats and matching rhythms and things like that. So both the text and the words, or that is the same thing, both, I should say, both the text and the rhythm of this provide a lot of opportunities for making musical connections.
Yeah. And so the rhyming pattern, like I was amazed when I read the book the first time, and I was like, what? Like as a picture book author, we hear all the time, okay, no rhyme. Rhyme is hard to sell. Rhyme is hard to do. You have to do rhyme perfectly. And so not only did you do rhyme, but you kept the same exact rhyming pattern all the way through the book. So how did that come about? And were there any hiccups as you were trying to find all these ending words?
Right. Well, you are so right. I've heard that many, many times over the last 15 or so years that I've been writing for kids, that at every conference in which you read, there are all those warnings about we don't want to see rhyme, or editors don't like rhyme. The reality is that they don't like bad rhyme. And a lot of people don't understand that it is a real skill. And I also kind of believe in some ways you've either got it or you don't. Not everyone is meant to write rhyming text. You almost have to have an innate musicality. You could certainly take a class and learn the technicalities of it, but it comes naturally to me, and it doesn't come naturally to everyone else. But even with it coming naturally, I still really have to work and make sure the accent is in the right place, and that it all flows, and that the scansion is proper, and you're not trying to make it, you're not forcing it to fit, that you're saying the sentence in the way that you would really speak it while it fits in your rhyme and rhythm. Yeah, that last word. So here we come, rum pum pum, wanna come. So already there's several words in there. But what I did was just make a list, first of all, and I thought, are there enough that I could get a whole book manuscript out of this? And there were, and there were more that I didn't even use. There was thrum, which I thought was a great another
Musical
onomatopoeia word. However, not necessarily a preschool, early elementary kind of word, thrum. And it didn't fit any of the sounds that I was looking for, so I didn't use that one. I didn't use crumb or plum. I almost used plum, like Jack Horner stuck in his thumb. Was that a plum? But I ended up going with yum for the tum. I thought that was more fun than talking about anyone for a plum.
Right.
I revised that on my own before submitting to yum for the tum. And I didn't use scum. And I thought that was probably best. Scum is, you know.
Right.
I mean, there could have been scum on the pond or something outdoors, but I used tons of other words, and it was really fun. It was a challenge, but I found it to be pretty easy because there are a lot of words that fit that. You couldn't do it with any sound.
Yeah, definitely not orange. Don't try this with orange, folks.
That's right. Don't. You won't go anywhere at all.
It was a really fun rhyming scheme. You're right. It was a lot of fun to work with, I'm sure, because it's a lot of fun to read back now. What is something that you wish that I would ask, or you wish that people knew about either the book or the process of writing it? Like, what's something interesting that you think, oh, people should know this? Right.
Well, of course, no discussion of a picture book should happen without mentioning the illustrator for the book. And that her name is Christine Davigné. She lives in Paris, and I mean Paris, France. Not, I was in Kentucky last week, and I was talking to a friend, and they said, "Oh, Paris, Kentucky." Oh, no, not at all. And if you look at this book, there is kind of a European village feel to the scene that she draws, which is sort of neat. So, and the editor for the book was Alan Johnston, who's also the publisher at Beach Lane, which is an imprint of Simon & Schuster. My agent is Rachel Orr, and all of these players are so much a part of every book that comes out. And then there's the art director and the designers and all those people who deserve mention, but I don't actually know all their names. But I, in particular, did want to say, something that's really fascinating to people a lot is that relationship or lack thereof between the author and the illustrator. And this book to me really epitomized what's supposed to happen with a picture book. So I turned in my text. I provided no art notes at all. And in my mind, I was picturing daytime human children, maybe real instruments, maybe not. That didn't matter to me. And I have since gotten to meet Christine in an interview that we did for a podcast. And she said that when she read the text, she thought, well, of course, this is at night. And I thought, of course, you wouldn't send children out into the night by themselves, wandering through, playing instruments or making music or whatever. But that's not what she did. She sent them out at night, and it was animals and it was kids. And suddenly you're in a dream sequence where anything is possible when you combine animals and kids. It's almost like 100 Acre Woods thing where it feels realistic, but you know that this is a whimsical romp and anything goes. So I think that's a really cool thing about the book, that I had nothing to do with the way it looked, and the illustrator literally wrote half of the story. She really added so many elements and created what I consider to be half of the story.
Right. I think that's a very different story than it would have been had she said it in the daytime, like you had originally envisioned it. Like, I mean, on those details that she included made it a really very different story. And I love that you connected it to the 100 Acre Wood, because it definitely has that feel to it. Absolutely. I mean, I'm a huge Winnie the Pooh fan.
Yes.
My kitchen's all done in poo. So
gosh, that's serious poo.
I'm a big fan. Yes. So it really does have that feel to it. That's a great connection. To make. And that's so interesting that she automatically envisioned it at night and that you didn't, because I was trying to think. So when I read I guess because of the illustrations, like I automatically assumed that you had said it at night because it's very natural. Yes. And so that's awesome when an illustrator can take, your words and not only envision what you envision, but then take it a step further and add their own. I love it when illustrators add their own little kind of backstory as they're illustrating. I think that adds such a nice layer to the story. And you're probably right. The fact that you left no art notes just really gave her the freedom for that. And I know that's a huge debate in the author community. You know, in fact, we were just having a discussion with one of my critique groups Saturday, and we're like, okay, to art note or not to art note? And she's like, well, somebody should do a workshop on that. And I'm like, well, everybody disagrees. I mean, there's so many different ways of approaching that. And so
yes, and editors feel very differently about it.
They do.
Alan Johnston, who is the one who took this, and actually she's the only person who saw it and took it right away. She does not ever want to see any art notes. And I knew that about her.
Okay.
So I didn't put them in. I may have added, you know, if I were going to send it to somebody else, I might have said a thing or two. But really what it comes down to is you should only provide an art note if it's critical to the understanding of the story. And that my text said all that needed to be said. Everything else was negotiable for me. And so it really didn't need them. Some texts absolutely need it. You know, if you turn the page and the person says, wow, you have to tell in an art note, what's the wow about?
Right.
But that's the only time that they're needed. So it wasn't needed here.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's interesting. That is a very interesting fact. Thank you for sharing that, for sure. Yeah. So what about upcoming projects? Do you have anything coming up that you can, I know sometimes we have to be vague, but is there anything you can talk about right now?
Yeah, I can be vague, but I can also share.
Okay.
So I have another book that's in the works with Beach Lane Books.
Okay.
It's also something that is based outdoors. It is not a musical book.
Okay.
And then I have something else in the works with another publisher who it's not been announced, so I'm not even going to mention the publisher, but it is a musical book and has to do with instruments and the orchestra. So that's what I will tell you.
Cool. So maybe we can have you back on PBJamz.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
It's so funny. I think when I was talking with the First Notes of Spring with Jessica, she was like, oh, I have another book that might be a PB Jam. And I just thought that was so fun that now this is a thing, you know, that a book might be a PB
That's right.
Jam. So you have another book that might be a PB Jam.
That's right. I thought about that too when I was getting ready to come on today. I thought, well, I might have another appearance on PBJamz lined up before we know it.
Yes,
I'd be happy to come again.
Yes, I love it. Is there anything else, Janna, that you would like for us to know before we wrap up this formal part of the interview?
I think that is mainly what I wanted to share with you, except I did want to mention, and we talked about this a little bit earlier, when I have gone into schools or at my book launch and shared this book with kids, not only is it a read aloud, but it's a sing aloud. Yes. So the rhythm that is naturally in this text seemed to me to really call for a melody. So I've put it to a melody. Typically I play it on my guitar, and I sent you a little clip that includes the guitar in the background, which you could put in the extra notes. But I would love for us to, you and me, Tani, to try to do a sing aloud with my book.
I would love that. Let's do it.
Okay. So Tani is going to hold up the book and turn the pages. Now this is tricky because midway through the book, there's a little about face. And it starts to go faster, and I have to remember all the lines in reverse. And that's a bit of a feat. So we'll see how I do. I'm going to turn to that page to see if I can remember. All right. So I'm going to scoot back just a little bit here because I also want to share hand motions in case anybody decides that you would like to do this when you read the book to a group of kids. So here we go. Here we come with a rum-pum-pum, wanna come. Here we come with a rum-pum-pum, and a pick and a strum. Wanna come? Here we come with a rum bum bum and a pick and a strum. Little Lou on her thumb with a swish swish bum. Wanna come? And I usually explain there that little Lou is a diapered baby, and everyone says, ew, and I said it's a clean diaper, but they do think it's funny to think of her swish swishing. Here we come with a rum pum pum and a pick and a strum. Little Lou on her thumb with a swish swish bum. Fiddle dee fiddle dum. Wanna come? Here we come with a rum pum pum and a pick and a strum. Little Lou on her thumb with a swish swish bum. Fiddle dee fiddle dum. Clap, clap with a chum. And you can actually have your students or the kids around you or the child who's with you clap, clap with you hand to hand. Wanna come? Here we come with a rum pum pum and a pick and a strum. Little Lou on her thumb with a swish swish bum. Fiddle dee fiddle dum. Clap, clap with a chum. A kazoo zum zum. Wanna come? Here we come with a rum pum pum and a pick and a strum. Little Lou on her thumb with a swish swish bum. Fiddle dee fiddle dum. Clap clap with a chum. A kazoo zum zum. Pop pop bubble gum. Wanna come? Here we come with a rum pum pum and a pick and a strum. Little Lou on her thumb with a swish swish bum. Fiddle dee fiddle dum. Clap clap with a chum. A kazoo zum zum. Pop bubble gum and a drip on a drum. And a drip on a drum. What's happening? And a drip on a drum. And a drip on a drum. Drippy drip, drippy drip. And then we all stand up and we stomp. Boom, boom, rum, pum. There's the lightning. And the birds are showing us what we should do. So here we go. Fly away home. Here we come. Pop, pop, bubble gum. A kazoo, zum, zum. Clap, clap with a chum. Fiddle dee fiddle dum with a little Lou on her thumb with a swish swish bum and a pick and a strum. Right back where we started from. What now, ho hum? Some yum for the tum. Notice what the boy is doing in the picture. He put out bird seed. Here we come. Tawny, nice job turning the pages.
Oh, nice job for you too. That was a lot of work to fit in. How fun.
So that's an example of how that could be sung and how that could work.
Awesome. Thank you so much for sharing that. That's wonderful. We will share that and link all this awesome stuff up. Yeah, down below, everything that that Janna just talked about is going to be linked up. We have her website and all of her social media links. The song that we just did together, well, that she did, I just turned the pages, but that song is going to be linked up for you in the jam section below. And so thank you so much for joining us today for this awesome episode of PBJamz with Janna and this wonderful book, Here We Come, about a kind of a moonlight parade through the forest. So thanks, and we'll see you next time on PBJamz.
Jamming PBs all the time. PBJamz. Jams, jams, jams. Picture books and jams. We'll see you next time for PB